Okay, so you've cultured your starter and it's in the fridge. Now what? Well, let's get ready to bake some bread. The night before you go to bed, head to your refrigerator and grab your jar of starter. Remove a quarter cup of your refrigerated starter and add it to a clean, wide-mouth mason jar. Place your bread head on top and let that come to room temperature. While you're waiting, remember to refeed your refrigerator starter with a quarter cup of filtered water and a quarter cup of hard white bread flour. Stir that up and put it back in the fridge. On a side note, I've been talking about filtered water and warm tap water, and the reason is this. Filtered water is purer than your tap water, and since this starter might live in your fridge for years to come, you want the water to be as fresh and pure as possible. When you're actually ready to bake your bread, warm tap water will do just fine. Now that your refrigerator starter has been refed and back in the fridge, we are going to work with the room temperature starter and add a quarter cup of bread flour and a quarter cup of warm water. Stir that up, place your bread head on top, and head off to bed. The next morning, you'll see that your starter is bubbly. It's quite thin, but it's doubled in size. Go ahead and grab a large bowl. I treated myself this year to a traditional Mason Cash mixing bowl. A little pricey, but it makes me happy every time I display it on my shelf. Put your bowl on your kitchen scale and reset it to 0. Pour 350 ml of warm water into the bowl. Then add your starter. Pay attention to this step because the starter needs to float. Stir the starter into the water and reset the scale to 0. Now you're going to add your flours. You need a total of 500 ml of flour to add to your water and starter mixture. Personally, I like to use at least 300 ml of hard white bread flour. Then I experiment. The remaining 200 ml could be whole wheat flour, it could be a combination of whole wheat and rye, or ancient grain flours. The choice is yours, and this is where you can have some fun with it. Whatever your combination, add a tablespoon of salt and stir it up until it's fully incorporated. Place a cotton kitchen towel on top of your bowl and set it aside to rise in a warm, draft-free spot. Fortunately, my stove has a proof setting, so my bread goes into the oven on proof. After about an hour, you're going to start a series of work and turns. Don't be discouraged when you first see your dough after the first hour of proofing. It's going to be dense like a heavy blob. But trust me when I say, trust this process. The work and turns are easy. Hold the side of your bowl, grab the side of your dough, and lift it into its center. Quarter turn the bowl, and again, lift the side of the dough into the center. Repeat your quarter turns about 6 to 8 times. Place the kitchen towel on top and set the dough to rest in a warm spot. Then, every hour, repeat the quarter turn process. Each time you turn your bread, you will notice the dough is lighter and has more structure. By midday, approximately 2 to 3 hours of work and turning, your dough should be ready for its final working. Flour your work surface and plop the dough ball onto it. You can sprinkle a little flour on top, but you shouldn't need too much. With your fingers, spread the dough to roughly form an 8x10 shape. Then fold one side into the middle, then the other side, and roll it into a ball-like shape. Place a cotton kitchen towel on top and let that rest for about 30 minutes. Since I have cold granite countertops, I like to set my dough ball onto a wooden board so the dough doesn't get quite so cold. After about half an hour, spread your dough into another 8x10 rectangle, fold it in half, and roll it into a ball. This is the final step, and my favorite part. With the dough in a rough ball-like shape, you will push it away from you and then pull it back. Push away, pull it back. Do this a few times and then transfer your dough to your banneton for its final proofing. Place a cotton kitchen towel over the top and put it in the fridge overnight. The next morning, place your Dutch oven into the oven and heat to 425 to 450 Fahrenheit. In the meantime, take your dough out of the fridge, place it on a piece of parchment paper, and with a bread lame, etch designs into the top, along with at least one deep score into the dough. When your oven is up to temperature, carefully remove the lid from the pot and place your dough into it. At this step, some people will add a few tablespoons of water underneath the paper to create steam in the pot. I prefer my bread without, but it's a personal preference. Put your covered pot in the oven and bake for 20 minutes. Then remove the lid and bake for another 10 to 15 minutes until you get the desired darkness on your crust. Ta-da! Enjoy your sourdough bread making.